They didn't expect to feel this way about you, and now it is confusing them. They did not plan for this. From the beginning, their approach was different. They kept a certain distance. They accepted like everything was casual. They avoided going too deep, and they made sure not to show too much. It felt like they were always holding something back, even things seemed fine on the surface. You may have noticed it early. The way they spoke sometimes felt guarded. The way they showed interest came in moments, then disappeared just as quickly, just as quickly. It's created a kind of uncertainty. There were it it created a kind of uncertainty that was hard to explain. You could feel that there was something there, but it never felt fully expressed. That inconsistency made it difficult to understand where you stood. For them, this was intentional at first. They did not want to change. They do not want to get attached. They did not want to lose control of their emotions. They believed that keeping things light would protect them. That mindset shaped how they interacted with you. They kept their feelings hidden, and even those feelings started to grow. Over time, something changed. The more they interacted with you, the harder it became to keep that distance. They started to feel something they did not expect. It was not just attraction, it was a deeper connection that they were not prepared for. That shift caught them off guard because it went against the way they planned to handle things. Instead of addressing it, they tried to manage it. They continued to act the same way, even though their feelings were changing. They kept things unclear. They pulled back when things started to feel real. They avoided conversations that could bring clarity. That behavior created confusion, not just for you, but for them as well. You felt that conversation directly. There were moments when they seemed present, and moments when they seemed distant. It was difficult to understand why the same person could feel so close one day and so far the next day. You may have tried to make sense of it, but the answers were never clear. That is because they were not being clear with themselves either. As their feelings grew, so did their discomfort. They were not used to being in that position. They were used to having control, to keeping things predictable. Now they were experiencing something they could not easily manage. That made their behavior even more inconsistent. They may have started to they may have started to overthink small things. They may have questioned their own reactions. They may have pulled away at times, not because they did not care, but because they cared more than they expected. That internal conflict makes it difficult for them to respond in a steady way. You on the other hand were left trying to understand what was happening. You could feel the change, but you could not explain it fully. That is where the confusion came from. It was not just about what they did, it was about what they did not say. The lack of clarity created a gap that made everything harder to read. Eventually, you began to see the pattern. You noticed that the inconsistency was not random, it was connected to how they were handling their own feelings. That realization helped you step back. Instead of trying to figure them out, you focus on what made sense to you. For them, the situation is still unclear. They are dealing with emotions they did not expect to have. They are trying to understand why they feel the way they do, while still holding on to their need to control. That combination created confusion because it put them in two different directions. They did not expect to feel this way about you, and now it is forcing them to face something they tried to avoid. The more they tried to ignore it, the more it shows up in their actions. The more they tried to control it, the more it affected how they behave. You did not have to resolve you did not have to solve that confusion for them. You do not need to solve that confusion for them. You do not need to make sense of what they are still trying to understand. What matters is that you recognize the pattern and respond in a way that protects your peace. Their confusion is a result of their own expectation not matching reality. They thought they could stay detached, but they could not. They thought they could control how they felt, but they could not. Now they are left trying to understand something they did not plan for. And while they are still figuring that out, you are no longer in the same place of uncertainty. You have already seen enough to know how to move forward with or without clarity.